Peace and welcome to the show. Here I am, Seth, and this is a show I've simply titled Let's Talk. I'm here with my guest. I'd like you to say something about yourself, how old you are, and once again, a fun fact, I guess.
Let's see. I'm Devontae. I'm 32 years old. Fun fact about me, I got an old soul. I love to dance, line dancing. I like to call myself the line dance king. What else about
That's cool.
Married, newlywed. Just got married last February.
Gonna congratulate you.
Got married last. Just had a son in August. I'm sorry, all these months has been flying by. It's been so many different orders, and now I'm on orders now, so trying to get all my months together.
But what I brought you here to discuss is a couple of questions, a couple of topics, man. And the first question I wanted to ask you is, well, the topic is, these are topics about modern day issues.
Okay.
And they pertain to the relationship statuses between men and women.
Okay.
And the first question is, do you think the body positivity movement has harmed modern dating?
Are we speaking of like examples like the Lizzo movement?
Yeah, that's exactly it's the exact same movement where we have to where you want to preach that these people preach that it's no matter what the shape of the woman, skinny, obese, you're supposed to just accept them on face value.
I mean, it kind of the way it was before. Before this whole BBL situation happened, you had women that was just naturally beautiful, and they was getting played by all guys. Like guys date whoever they got taste for, whoever they want to date. You had a lot of women like Nia Long, Leah. They had big butts and big breasts. They, you know what I'm saying? You looked at their face value. You know what I'm saying? You looked at them and how they present themselves, and they was the most beautiful women in the world. Halle Berry, still considered one of the most beautiful women in the world. Don't have the biggest breast, don't have the biggest butt. So,
well, she got some booty now. She got some big old titties and some booty now. Have you seen her?
Who?
Halle Berry, bro.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh man, most of those women that you're talking about now, either they've naturally developed some booties and titties, or they got it paid for, but they got it now.
Oh yeah. I mean, with age, you know what I'm saying, you get that natural body, but I don't believe none of them women are got anything enhanced. But we grew up in a fortunate time where we was able to appreciate a woman based off of her presence.
I wasn't nothing unfortunate about that. Wasn't nothing unfortunate about that.
No, I'm saying we grew up in a fortunate.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought you said unfortunate.
Fortunate. I'm sorry, I missed Mr. No, we grew up in a fortunate area where it was all about how you present.
Hey, hold on, bro. Your camera's bugging out.
Oh shoot, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're pixeling pretty bad, and you're like lagging.
Oh wow. How about now? I just turned the Wi-Fi back on.
Nah, you're still lagging a little bit. Maybe give it a second.
Bam. Give it a second. Hold on.
There you go. You're starting to come back into play now. Starting to look a little better.
Okay.
All right.
It's better now?
Yep. Okay, now continue.
Okay. So yeah, I was saying we grew up in a fortunate area where it wasn't so much of, oh, you know what I'm saying, you had all these extra enhancements. Like the women we thought were beautiful back then was just pretty in the face, you know, they was edge shaped, they kept themselves up. And not necessarily, you know, the most fit, but they was just, you know, it was just the way they presented themselves, their attitude, their energy, which is what made them beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Now it's all about, you know, the assets underneath the clothing.
So you don't think
the person?
You don't think that? Do you think that there are some just natural societal standards when it comes to beauty? So, and for example, I would ask you. For most men, there's definitely a line. You know what I mean? So, for example, would you date a woman who was 200 pounds? Would you date a woman who was 300 pounds?
300. So my limit is if I can't lift you, you're too heavy.
All right.
That's my gap.
So no matter what, there is a limit though, right?
Yeah.
All right. So with body positivity, there is no limit, or there shouldn't be, as far as they're concerned. As far as the people who rock with this movement are concerned.
I feel like, you know.
So like how you said, do you think you should care? My question is, do you think, with what you said, do you think these women who rock with this, or just anybody who is with this body positivity movement, do you think that there are no natural limits?
Do I think there is no natural limits? What do you mean, like no natural limits?
Well, that's why I asked you, like how you said, most women, as long as they can present themselves and their attitudes, they could get a man, right? But I ask you, I ask you where the limit is, because even by your standard, you wouldn't date a woman who was 300 pounds. So by that standard, it would negate the body positivity movement, because they still believe, even though I'm 300 pounds, you should still want me.
See, that's the thing. I might not be able to lift, like, literally pick up 300 pounds, but somebody stronger than me can lift up 300 pounds. You just got to know your weight class. Like, you play professional sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like wrestling, you got your weight class.
Mm-hmm.
Or weightlifting, you know your weight class. You know what you can lift, and you know what you can't lift.
Right.
So I think when it comes to dating natural women, you just got to know your weight class. So the reason why I say, if I can't lift you, you're too big, because how can I rescue you to safety if I can't carry you? And every man has their own individual strength. So if you can lift past 300 pounds, 400 pounds, whatever, all right, by all means, go ahead. You know what I mean? Every man has a weight class, so I think that's the way it is.
What do you think most men desire when it comes to? Because I want to figure out what the societal standard, for the most part, is for men. Just to give you a heads up, whenever I'm on this show, I never speak with my own personal opinion. I just like to be. Pretty much picture me as like a voice in your head that sounds like this, and you so happen to imagine that voice looking like this, and then you project it into this seat and call it Seth. All right, so like, it's just, I don't have it, I'm just straight up, just logic and questions, you know what I mean? Like for example, 2 + 2 is 4, right? That's what I'm on. So I want to figure out what your idea of the societal standard is when it comes to beauty. Do you think most men would be interested in a 300-pound woman?
Most, no.
What is your percentage of men that you think would be interested in a 300-pound woman?
The percentage,
in America, North America.
North America? Okay, we talking from the South, or we talking?
No, I'm talking about just the overall. If if a 300-pound woman was to walk from not walk, but somehow travel to each state, how many would she be able to grasp the population of those men? Because on average, like to give you a statistic, on average, 70% of men are average. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. On average, 70% of women are average. I think I would even beckon to say it's a little higher now, but most people are average. You know what I mean?
Right.
So on average, would a 300-pound woman, like what's the percentage of the chances of a 300-pound woman getting a man on average?
I'm gonna say about 10%.
10%? All right, that sounds about right to me. So for this movement suggests that is wrong. And the reason why that's wrong is because society has had this false image purported upon us. So do you think that, would you say being 300 pounds is healthy?
No.
No. All right. So if 10% of men would only hook up around the 10% around the country would only hook up with a 300-pound woman, it's fair to say that most men would not desire a 300-pound woman.
Facts.
All right, cool. So from the perspective, I want to do a little exercise with you, just to gain a little more of your insight on how you see this. I want to play the role of someone who's in this body positivity movement. All right. Especially because you seem to be a sound-minded man. I want to ask you these questions. All right. So I'm someone who believes in body positivity. All right. I don't think you should judge someone because they're 300 pounds. They could be a great person. They could have a great personality, and they could carry themselves well. Just because they're 300 pounds doesn't mean they have to stink or anything. Why wouldn't you be with someone 300 pounds?
Well, me personally, 300 pounds. It depends. Okay, so it depends on how you carry it, right? I'm a proportion type of guy, right? Mm-hmm. If you that big and if you that big and you ain't got no titties, I'm sorry. It's like
well, that shouldn't matter, man. That shouldn't really matter though. Like, she's still a woman, and she still has breasts, right, though, right? So like the big or small breasts shouldn't really matter.
But see, as a man, so we are visual. We go by what we see, right? Mm-hmm. So if we see a big woman, but she got these big old melons, right? And she got a nice booty, a big old booty, you know what I'm saying? And she just got a little bit of, you know what I'm saying, right here in the midsection. All right, cool, we can work with her. But if she is not proportioned at all, like she don't have no titties, no butt, and she just got a whole bunch of rolls right there, it's like...
Well, see, that's because that's a society thing, man. You see, society's trying to teach you that having all those rolls is wrong, when really that's just your perception of it because you've been taught by society to not desire fat women.
Well, no, so when I look at it, it's going based off of my own personal taste. So I'm a man that like ass and titties.
Well, if a woman saw, you should make her feel bad though. Like, you should make her feel terrible if she doesn't have ass and titties and she's trying to talk to you. Like, you couldn't give her a chance.
I talk to her, but I would be honest with myself. I like, you know what I'm saying.
So you would talk to her. You would give the 300-pound woman a chance.
If she was, you know what I'm saying, to my visual liking, yes.
Come on, bro. You know you lying. You know you lying, boy.
What's wrong with it? Hey, she got the things. What's happening? You know what I'm saying? She got them. You know what I'm saying? She well proportioned. Hey, I'm working with her, but
no, man. You know that's a cap. You gonna walk around. Okay. So you gonna show up. You gonna pull up to the wedding. Check this out. Give you the scenario. All right. One of the boys are getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's bringing their girlfriends and their wives.
Uh-huh.
You gonna or just women that they're dating at the time. You gonna show up with a 300-pound chick to the wedding? And floss her though, not like just ignore her and shit and just have her there. I'm talking about sport her, just like you would the dime.
Yeah, as long as she ain't shaped like the drama teacher off of SpongeBob, I'm cool.
Oh no, see, no, that counts too. Like, you're not going to, you got to give her a chance. you're not gonna give her a chance.
If she's not to my visual like it, I'm not gonna present her like I'm proud to have her. Like, no.
That's because you're bigoted, Devontae. You're bigoted, and you're a victim of the patriarchy. That's why you think that way.
If I'm not, so if I'm not physically attracted to you, I'm not about to showcase you and be like, yeah, this is my woman. I'm proud to have. No, I'm not about to do that.
All right, so that's good. I'm glad you said that.
You feel like SpongeBob drama teacher, then it's my homegirl.
It is my homegirl.
We go grab some food. We go.
It's my homegirl. That's mean, man. That's mean. You would smash and still bring her out, but not claim her.
See now. With if it's SpongeBob teacher shape, no. Nah, we just the homies.
All right, all right. Well, see, that's a good. That's a. I'm glad you said that. That brings up another question that I wanted to ask about you. About not about you, but about the standard.
Yeah,
So,
right.
do you think a man? Do you think most men? Do you think most men settle for their wives or their girlfriends, or do you think that most women settle for their wives? I mean, for their husbands or their boyfriends.
Um. Whew, okay, that's a two-part question. Okay, so women. I'm gonna start with the women.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm a firm believer that women do not make their decisions. Most of their decisions when they're dating logically, they think emotionally when they make their decisions. So they might have somebody talking sweet and soft and talking a good game in their ear, but they're not paying attention to the red flags. But they see the potential in in that person. And they're like, you know what, you can possibly be what I want you to be, but they're not looking at the fact that he's not doing anything to go towards that, but she looking at the good things about that person and not all the bad things. So she's using her emotions to make her solid decision in dating that person, not looking at the logic, the whole picture, and dating that person. You know what I'm saying? So for women, I would say they settle because they rely mainly on their emotions. Men, it was funny you asked about men too, because I actually saw a post and it says that men settle for what they really want when they don't have the substantial amount of money in their pockets. And I think that's for some guys. I think that's for some guys who don't really have self-confidence and don't really have game. You know what I'm saying? If you don't ain't got the confidence, I mean, you don't really take what you can get.
Well, to be fair, man. Remember, keep in mind that 70% of men are average, but in the States right now, the way we get our statistics on what beauty standards are and what's desirable right now we get that information from dating applications. So, for example, women only swipe right 20% of the time, and men swipe right 88% of the time.
Right.
So. Right, so what that says is, even on a societal level, most men are not even average to women, they're ugly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking about not normal looking, not just, the run-of-the-mill man. I'm talking about most women see, average dudes as ugly now. And that's what's kind of, it's hard for that confidence to come in, you know what I mean? When for most men on average. This is why we have people like internet pariahs. Like, do you know who Andrew Tate is?
Andrew, I've heard that name.
All right, cool. Well, he's one of these. He's pretty much. I think he's the most Googled dude on the planet right now. But his hookup is he teaches men and young men to be masculine and to be confident, to be proud, to achieve something. You know what I mean? Be worth something. But with most, oh yeah, I wanted to ask you first. Do you think that most men? I mean, do you think it's better if the man settles or if the woman settles?
It's better when the man settles.
Why?
Because when a woman settles, she's overlooking all of the red flags, and I feel like the woman suffers more than the guy at the end of it.
All right. I've heard that argument from some guests that I've had. I've heard them say that the women would suffer more for settling. But on the other hand, statistics say that if I hit you with this, the women I've had on my show, they tell me that they feel like it's better if the man settles, because if they're settling with someone, they wouldn't. They're not with who they desire. So and are you familiar with the term hypergamy?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
All right, so basically women monkey bar. You know what I mean? They jump from better opportunity to better opportunity. The average woman, not all women, but the average woman does, right? So this is where you get things like monetary value holding actual emotional status. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you hear people say something like, my man has to make X amount of money, or he has to be this type of person, you know what I mean? I want to ask you, do you think that a woman settling for her husband is likely to stay with that husband?
A lot of them do, but a lot of them ain't happy.
Do you think that's what I'm saying? Do you think most of them? Because just to hit you with this statistic, in the U.S. right now, 70% of all divorces are filed by women, and then if she's college educated, it shoots up to 90%. So women are responsible for 90% of divorces. They're the ones leaving. It doesn't matter what happens or the cause of, they're the ones filing for the divorce.
Right. I was gonna say the younger women, they not gonna put up with it. But the older women, that whole older generation, they would have stuck around with it 50, 60 years.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
New women, they ain't like that. They like, nah, if it ain't rocking, I ain't shaking.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna stick with it. I ain't happy.
Yep. Still, my goal is pretty much I want to figure out what modern principle actually works. And I said, and I say that I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, like how you just said, with our grandparents, they stuck things out. Marriages actually worked. You know what I mean? They got buried together. You know what I mean? But with the divorce rate being 90% and with these new waves of thought, I want to ask you, what do you think of the feminist movement?
What do I think of the feminist movement? I believe that the feminist movement was really brought on because men not recognizing and understanding the value of a woman. So women had to go and prove their worth to men and to themselves and say, anything you can do, I can do better. You know what I mean? Because men did not know how to position themselves as leader and, you know, use women to help the organization. Because one thing about it is we can't do anything. We can't run a fully functioning empire without a woman. You know what I'm saying? A woman is the brains behind the operation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She makes things better. Women are the epitome.
So would you say you would say the feminist movement is a good thing?
Hmm?
Would you say the feminist movement is like a good thing for women?
It's not. It's not because.
In what regard?
I feel the feminist movement is a bad thing.
In what way?
Because.
I said, in what regard?
So I feel the feminist movement is a bad thing because it teaches women to be, and it don't teach women to be feminine. It teaches women to be masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically because men did not know how to value them. You know, so they didn't know women's worth at the time. All they thought women was there for was just to be in the house and have my babies. Oh, you're not worth this and that. They didn't took.
Well, what part of the feminist movement helps them? What part of the feminist movement helps them? I mean, if that was what was going on, if men didn't know how to treat their women and they were just totally disregarding their women, what about the feminist movement would change that?
The feminist movement, in a positive way, how it changed that, it showed that yes, women can do X, Y, Z. Women can run businesses. Women can be in leadership. Women can do X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the woman can be fully feminine if she's in these high positions or if she's doing all these jobs that was designed for a man and still come home and, you know what I'm saying, be a wife to her husband, because it's going to be a battle of the sexes.
Well, I want to ask you then, if you say they were, if you say men were disregarding their women and they didn't know how to treat their women back then, what and then you say, positions that were meant for, masculine positions like going and working and stuff like that. What would the woman be doing in order to show that she has value if if men are meant to be working in those positions?
So it's just like a relationship, right? The man is the one that go and say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, but the decision is not made by just the man alone. The decision is made with the woman and the man. You know what I'm saying? You have the woman that has that logical thing, but the man, he can make that decision with the logic without the emotions behind it. So a woman can help a man think better. You know what I'm saying? Woman is smarter than man, right? I believe women are smarter than men. When we have women, helping us, with decision making, and we make this decision together, we come up with the best outcome.
All right. So who do you believe is the one who should lead the house? Should the man lead the house or should the woman lead the house?
The man should lead the house, but the woman should assist the man.
Well, I mean like final say so. Who has the final say so? Let's say let's say the man makes a decision, the woman disagrees. Who has the final say so?
The man.
Yeah. All right. Well, if the man has the say so, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
If it's the opposite, women wouldn't respect men. Like.
Oh, I agree.
Kind of considered, you know what I'm saying? Like. Oh,
so that seems to be that seems to be the outcome of this whole feminist movement. Women they become the men they desire. So
exactly.
So that's.
They don't find a man.
Yeah, I mean, well, think about it like this: if you were to say something like, "I'm listening to what you're saying," and you're saying like, they had to somehow demonstrate their worth. Well, the feminist movement going about that is, saying get a job, get a lot of money, become independent, have your own house, all that stuff. Well, to me, that sounds like a man, right? Aren't those our goals in order to get a woman?
Yes. Those are goals. So the way society is now, everybody has to go out and get a job. It ain't like men have to go and he got to go just defend for his family, and women just stay at home and ain't got to make the money. Everybody got to go out there and make the money. But the problem is when women go out and they go and get theirs, it's submitting. It's like, okay, you are the head of the household. You know what I'm saying? We are equal. You know what I'm saying? A lot of men think that, okay, since I'm the head of the household, I'm above my woman, but you're not above your woman. You are equal to your woman. You're just the decision maker. You don't want to go out there and you stand up for your family.
Well, see, that's the thing, though, man. That's the thing. Logically, when it comes to decision making, there is no equal. So, for example, if I'm the general of the military, I report to no one but the president. Right. But it doesn't matter what I say or what I feel. Mm-hmm. The president has the final say so. He's the commander in chief. So we're not equal at all. Think about like the basic structure of a household. If just to use familiar terms, if the household were like the monarchy, the father would be the emperor, the woman would be the empress, and the children would be the subjects, right? The emperor wouldn't say anything. The emperor speaks to the mother, to the empress, and the empress tells the children what's what, right? So there is no sense of being truly equal, because if the emperor says something, that's what goes down. The emperor even, the empress is even the human mouth for the emperor. So if somebody's following, they can't be leading.
Correct. In that aspect, yes. But one thing about leadership is recognizing people who you're leading, who you got with you. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to make a sound decision by yourself. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to just be like, okay, I'm going to just do this, and this is my idea, and I'm just going to roll with it. Mm-hmm. She's a person, she's going to be like, but what about this? You know what I'm saying? All right, look at it this way, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? You're making the decision with her.
Mm-hmm.
So we just hold a title, we hold a position to go out there and speak on it. Because if we go out there and we make the decision, we do it, we earn that respect. You see what I'm saying? Because we're the logical people.
Would you mind picking your camera up a little bit, bro?
Oh,
there you go.
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yep.
So we're the ones, we earn the respect because we are the protectors. So the protectors the one to go out there and say, hey, this is what's going down, blah, blah, blah. But behind closed doors, we made that decision together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We came up with this. You know what I'm saying? A man ain't a man without his woman.
All right. So I think what you're saying holds a lot of merit. What you're saying absolutely holds a lot of merit in a working household. But here's the thing: with 90% of divorces being filed by women, I think it would be fair to say that they feel as though they're like, let's say they're going with what you're saying. They feel like they should have a say. They should be able to make a decision. They should be equal. Well, equal clearly wouldn't work if 90% of those women are leaving. For example, a woman naturally wants to follow someone, and this is just based off of, this is just straight up just based off of science and how marriages have worked forever. Women naturally want to follow, the men naturally wants to lead. When the woman is leading, she starts to lose respect for her. But think about it like this, and I try to get, the way I get men to understand this way of thought is, think about it, if I was your general, I'm your leader, right? But you start taking notice that, man, I start, even though he's the general, I make a lot of decisions, man. I'm the one who's always talking to the general. I fight the general's battles. Like, have y'all noticed the last 5 battles, I actually like clashed swords with the dude instead of the general? Like, yeah. You're gonna start losing respect for your general.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how women think. If they're constantly the ones that have to make a decision, if they're constantly the ones that have to put input on something, if they're constantly the ones that, and then think about it like this: the reason why they constantly feel like they need to make that input is because they don't trust your decision. So any woman who doesn't trust the decision of her husband is going to be the one who feels like she has input, she has the say, or she deserves. I mean, there's nothing, like how you said, in a working household, yeah, people discuss things and things work out. But in logic, I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
Hold on. So what I was saying was, okay, so every decision doesn't need the input of your wife. You have to make some decisions, you know what I'm saying, in the household. And you know what I'm saying, you just let her know this is what's happening and this is what it is. And she respects you for making decisions. But some decisions does require your woman input. You know what I'm saying? You have to include, because she wants to feel like, okay, did you consider, like, you know what I'm saying, me? You know what I'm saying? You have to consider the people who you're making the decisions for, too, to be an effective leader, to be a respected leader.
Right.
You can't just think about what you think and how you feel. You know what I'm saying? Right. It has to be for everybody.
Now, because what happens, what do you think is healthy if I cut? I'm sorry, Rick.
What you feel, then, and you don't include everybody. I mean, not saying you have to always include everybody, but if you make decisions because this is the way you think, you're not taking consideration of how would it affect them, then you're gonna have another problem on your hand.
All right. Well, with that same exact mode of thought, with trying to include, I mean, like, because I mean, what does that really mean then? If you're saying not every decision involves your woman, well, what decisions are those? Because as far as most women are concerned, you know what I mean, they want to be involved, especially with this new age feminist movement. So you telling your woman, nah, you know what I mean, there's some shots that only I can make, that creates a problem, because then she's not equal.
Okay, prime example. You and your woman, y'all go and buy a house, right? All right, well, what color house you want, baby? You know what I'm saying? As a man, I'm making a decision. We're going to stay under this price range, right? I made that decision without her, you know what I'm saying? I know what we got. I make, you know what I'm saying? I check the financials. This is what the limit is. All right, baby, what color house you want? What kind of,
well, how about that right there? What if she disagrees? What if you say let's just say you say my price range is $150,000, right? We're not going no above $150, That's the cap. What if she says, I want to spend $200,000, and I mean, this is our house.
So if if you say this is what you want, it's like, okay, with that, I would be like, look, baby, this is what our limit is, and you explain to her the reason, because you can't just be like, oh, just throw out a number. It has to be a well thought out plan, and you gotta explain to her. That's where communication comes from. Explain to her the plan of why you're choosing this range, and how it's going to benefit us in the long run. If we spend this amount of money right now, then what I'm saying, this house can appreciate, with the upgrades and all that stuff, and then it can be worth that same amount of money that you want to spend right now. So if we spend this now, it can be worth more than that later, and we can sell it and we can buy a bigger house later. You know what I'm saying? You got to tell her the whole plan.
All right. Well, would you say on average most men would want to be questioned like that?
You have some men who be like, no, it's what I want to do. I'm going to do, you know what I'm saying?
I actually want to touch down on what you were saying earlier, because when you were saying that most men back in our grandfathers' days didn't really know how to treat their women and stuff like that, because that's kind of where the feminist movement comes from.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that, because if marriages were working back then, how were they? How was that worse? You know what I mean? Like if the marriages were working back then, the marriages had to have had some sort of communication. Things had to have been going well in order for somebody to stay with somebody for 60 plus years. You know what I mean? So I want to know what kind of new age thought comes into play when we say something like the treatment of these women. You know what I mean? Like what is? Because if we go back to feminism was, if we say it's a woman's organization, well, it's a woman's organization that was started by 20 women and 100 men. So logically, we call that a men's organization. So if 100 men were defending 20 women, logically, would we say that men didn't know how to treat their women back then?
I'm going to still say a lot of men didn't know how to treat their women.
Well, that's always going to be, but I'm talking about on majority.
In the beginning, those men agreed with some of the things that they was coming up, it's in the original plan what they was coming up with. It was like, you know what, women should be able to, go out there and work and stuff like this. I'm tired of this and blah blah blah. You have those few men. That's a small percentage of men. They won the mass majority. They won the mass majority. So I'm not afraid to say probably those 100 men were probably simps at that time.
All right, why so? Because they would. I really want to know why so. Because they would have been people who agree with your ideals. You know what I mean? That women were being mistreated and that they were being subjugated by the men. But why were they simps?
Okay. So at the time, if you believe a woman should go and be a firefighter at that time, be a firefighter, please, and then come home and then try to take care of the household and all that stuff, it's like, so what you who gonna take care of the household if y'all out there doing the same job? Who's taking care of the kids?
Right.
Or is it, do you want your woman to go out there and work and you sit at home? Because that was the result of it. You got a lot of men that's sitting at home, and you got the women out there going out there getting money. So I believe that those 100 men were probably simps.
Well, see, think about that. But that condition that you just spoke of is the result of feminism. That condition you spoke of, where men are sitting in the house and not doing anything, and the women are taking care of things, that is the result of feminism. So.
Simps.
But that's what I'm saying. So I mean, like, if these men were the ones who agree with your ideals, would they be simps? Because I mean, they're the ones who are agreeing with what you're saying, that women should have the jobs and women should be able to have an equal say in the house and all that stuff. So I mean, like, I'm just saying logically, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they just agreed because they didn't want to, they're
trying to hit
work themselves. I'm tired I'm tired of getting up every. Let my wife go out there and do this X, Y, and Z. I'm about to sit at home. I take care of the kids.
I
I
agree.
play catch with Junior all day long. As long as somebody else getting the money.
Yeah, see, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I agree 100% that it's a whole simp thing, man. But I mean, when you think about the ideals of the feminist movement, it literally works out for a small percentage of men. You know what I mean? Like men who want to not defend their woman, who'd rather have a woman who makes all the money, and who would rather have a woman who's sexual. I mean, think about it. It works out. Feminism works out for the single man. I mean, think about it. If you take a chick who's a feminist by ideal, that means she's willing to have sex with you with no attachment. You know, she's she's not relying on you for money or at all. You know what I mean? She's just a chick that shows up to smash, pretty much.
Exactly. And leave. She ain't got to cuddle with you, none of that. She go right home.
You see what I'm saying? But the result that you're calling, but these men that you call simps, they're the men who agree with your ideal that the idea that the men should be able to, the women should have this say so, and the women should be doing, because like when you say the men were treating the women disrespectfully, like they were just like thinking like, oh, you should be in the house and oh, you should just be cleaning. Well, let me ask you straight up, what are the natural duties of a woman? If men are naturally supposed to be working and men are the ones who are naturally supposed to be going out and defending and protecting, like how you said, what are women supposed to be doing naturally?
Naturally, women are supposed to take care of the kids, take care of the household. Taking care of the household is a job itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a wife, and I was working. My wife, she goes out. She gets her own. She's a nurse. She gets her own. You know, she's not just a stay-at-home wife. She's just stayed at home because she just had the baby.
Straight up.
Her trying to work from home and take care of my son. I owe her so much respect. I give her respect, but I owe her even more than what I give her at this moment. Trying to provide meals, trying to plan and make sure I'm okay, make sure she's okay. You know, making sure everything is just organized around the house. It's a whole job.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, so just based off what you just said, bro. Like based off what you just said, bro. What you just described was the exact same things that you described as a bad thing.
So the thing is, I respect my woman, and I know her position, and I know it's not that she just happened to be in that predicament. And I'm able to take care of her and the baby without her having to work. But she does work from home. But the men at that time, you know, they didn't really know how to like value their woman. I value my woman. I know my woman is highly intelligent and smart. And when I
well, just with your not to interrupt you, bro, but just with your own example of you know, why aren't things clean? Why aren't things? Wouldn't you be upset if you came home and the duty of your wife was to have the house clean and the house isn't clean?
If that was her main job, yes.
Well, I mean, like, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, this is what I mean by like average natural duties. You know what I mean? Especially if we're talking about back in the day. So if I came home, if I was working, you know, like, and especially if we're talking about our grandparents, these people work factories, steel mills, you know what I mean, all that hard actual man work. So if they're doing all this hard man work and then they come home and there's no food and the house ain't clean and the kids got to get changed, does he have the right to be upset?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not mistreating her in any way. By a man coming home and being upset, I don't think that would be mistreating her.
Is she working at all?
No.
She's not working at all? Yeah. But at the same token,
Because I mean, think about our grandmothers. Our grandmothers didn't work. Remember, our grandmothers were housewives. They were kept women. So they weren't working. So if those men were coming home and complaining about food not being made and the house not being done, were those complaints not reasonable? Because if I didn't go to work, if the man didn't go to work, if the man missed 3 checks in a row and, you know, food stopped being around the house and you know, the roof starts leaking and all that crap, we'd have a problem, right? I wouldn't be a man anymore. So,
Absolutely.
so is it a problem for especially for our grandfathers who were working what we all can agree were the most manly jobs? They were the most manly of men. Is it mistreating your wife to ask her to simply do what she's supposed to do, what she agreed to do by being my wife?
Mm.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like I just find it. I just logically find it funny when women who agree with this feminist movement or any men who say something like our grandfathers mistreated our grandmothers even though they had successful marriages and all they asked them to do was be women, be feminine. I mean, they really didn't have to do anything back then but be women. I mean, it's still the same now. Like for example, let's say modern day dating market. You're single, you're looking for a woman. You know, for a man, our job is to approach the woman, to initiate the date, to set up the date, to pay for the date, right? What is the woman's job?
Absolutely. Mhm. Show up, look pretty, smell good, and present herself like a lady.
So basically nothing, right?
Like a damn thing.
Right. So that's still the same. You know what I mean? That's still the same. It's always been the same. Women don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? This is where what people don't understand, what people are starting to realize as we get older is that women are born with their value. No matter what, they don't have to do anything. The moment they turn 11 years old or 12 years old, they start getting attention from men. No matter what. Like how you said, brothers will check for anything. You can be fat, you can be small, you can be short, you can be tall. A man is going to check for you. That's your birthright as a woman. All you have to do, like how you said, as a woman, all you have to do is show up smelling good, look good, have a good attitude. But you, as a man, we have to go out and initiate that date, which means we got to be presentable. We got to work hard so we have the cash to pay for that date. We have to be of status, meaning men have to respect us as men in order for this woman to respect us as a man. We have to do an awful lot. We have to create our value.
Yep.
So I mean, this is why I bring up points like, 70% of men are ugly to women. 70% of men are just walk right pastable, even though they're all working, even though they're all trying to achieve status, even though they're all trying to constantly approach these chicks and get shut down. This is why most men don't. This is why I bring up the point of 20% of women only swipe right. It's because, and this is where you hear things like all men ain't shit, all men don't treat women well. It's because they all are dating the same dude.
Facts. I actually agree with that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you were, for example, man, if you were in your early 30s, right? You are in your early 30s, man. Let's go back. Yeah, I want to get you out of the mindset of being with your wife because I know you love your wife, but I want you to think about like back to being single. You know what I mean? So put yourself in your 25-year-old shoes, all right? You're a multi-millionaire, all right? That right there, that means you already got your pick of the litter for the most part. You can have any chick you want, all right?
Yeah.
Are you gonna mess with just one chick?
At 25, I mean, at 25, I was looking for a relationship.
But think about it though. You also weren't somebody who had a couple $1 million in the account, right?
Facts.
You're also somebody that wasn't pushing around Bentleys and stuff. Like now, imagine if you had the option. And think about it. As a man, you were still trying hard to work. You were still trying hard to present yourself. You had to make sure you said the right stuff to this girl. Now imagine you don't have to do any of that. All girls are just on you. Are you going to mess with just one chick? Think about it, bro. You got girls in your DM right now as we speak texting you. And they're bad. They're dimes.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna sample more than one of those?
Other head. Thinking logically or with my other head?
Yo, think a lot. Both ways though. I mean, think about it, man. In your phone, you can open up your phone, and there are 5 dimes who are going to show up right now. You're not going to sample 3 of those?
Absolutely. I'm a enjoy myself now.
Do you see what I'm saying? That's logic. So that's logic.
So I gotta be careful, because a lot of women can smell money. So a lot of women just there because of my status. So I don't want nobody there just because of what I got. I want a woman that's there because of who I am. You know what I'm saying? We enjoy each other genuinely, not because of my Benjamins.
Right. Most women are like that. And most men are like that.
I like being around real people. So yeah, you're gonna have this fine chick here and there and everything, and you're gonna get your screw, you're gonna screw for a while, and you know what? No, ain't none of that. I mean, I don't even remember that girl's name. We just met on Facebook, but I you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to just be spreading myself around like that. Yeah, I hit one, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 5. You know what I'm saying? It was good, but you know what? I'm cool. Like, I want to find somebody solid.
All right, so now with that mindset, keep that same mindset, right? Are you gonna pick? Now, like you said, you want a woman that's cool and that's a real person. Now you have the right to pick any woman you want. Are you gonna pick a woman who is gonna disagree with you, 300 pounds, any of that, and has a feminist mindset?
Hell no.
Right. So so this is what I'm saying. Like, on average, most men feel the same way as you do. So
Yeah.
so this is what I'm trying to figure out. Like, because like I said, logically and naturally, these things work a certain way. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like I'm even, like I said, I don't even have my own frame of mind. I'm just going off of the logic, and I try to use the logic of my guest as well, just to kind of understand where they're coming from. You know what I mean? This is why I'm asking. This is why I'm asking you questions like, or saying things like, what you said about how it was like kind of mean to come home and ask for some food, even though that's kind of expected. You know what I mean? It's just that these things are things that we don't really think about because it's something that's been kind of like parroted to us a bunch, you know what I mean? Like, we've been kind of already taught that we are the bad guys and we did so much wrong, you know what I mean?
Well, that's that particular scenario. So that's what I'm gonna bring up communication again too. So back then they didn't really had a communication like we do now. Like, we can simply send a text and blase and say, hey, this is the status, this is what's going on. They were literally out there working all day and then they came straight home. So communication, sitting down and talking to your wife, hey, what's going on? Because you got to understand, women deal with a lot of emotions and a lot of things going on with them mentally, physically, and they got to deal with a whole child or children and stuff like that. So,
well, I mean, think about it. So do you, though.
So,
well, I mean, I like to keep things. I like to keep people in perspective. So, if they have a child together, then both of them are dealing with that child.
Right, but if she's a stay-at-home mom and she's dealing with that child, that stay-at-home child can be sick, be crying all day. You know what I'm saying? Won't lay down.
So
ain't had no sleep because she constantly getting up. She tired.
So like I'm kind of getting the sense of like. So I'm kind of getting the sense of. Are you saying it like men work and they don't have to raise the child at all?
Back in the day, that's the way it was. Back in the day, it was more, men weren't sensitive enough.
Well, actually, man, logically, logic would actually disagree with that. I mean, I said logic and statistic would actually far out disagree with that. So, for example, a simple picture of that being incorrect is there's a cultural thing with men. Oh, hold on a second, one of my cameras went out. All right. But what I was saying is just so like just logically and just thinking about it. I'm thinking about it logically. So our parents and our grandparents, they had to have had some form of better communication than us if they were just going from point A to point B and women weren't leaving. Because think about it. It don't matter if they were getting cheated on or whatever. They weren't leaving, which says a lot. It don't matter what was going on in those relationships. Women weren't getting divorced. Now,
what?
I mean, like I said, you have to think out that. I mean, like, it doesn't matter what they preach, because think about it. This is what I mean by like looking at things just in a general way. like how you said, women were arguing and you thought, I mean, even you were saying like it was a bad thing to just want your dinner, to just want your food. I mean, if I'm taking care of somebody and all you have to do is exist. You see what I'm saying? Is it hard? Is it real? If you expect me to take care of you, if you expect me to take care of you, if you expect me to love you, if you expect me to die for you, can I have a plate? Can I not argue with you? You know what I mean? Like these aren't things that are just, these things are not far-fetched. But with this new age feminist mindset that we all have, and this is what I mean by we all have, because for the most part, a lot of us were raised by our moms. You know what I mean? A lot of us come from single parent households. And the problem with that is you have a woman instilling feminine thoughts into a boy's head. So, and this is what I mean by the communication was way better back then. Simple demonstrations of, there's a tradition among our whole nation where our fathers used to teach us how to operate on cars. There was a bond back then between our families. So, I mean, and that was everything. Women taught women, our grandmothers taught our mothers how to be women. They told them, you don't look at a man a certain way, you speak slightly, you get your point across without being direct and battling. Like, so for example, women back in the day, the reason why they weren't getting divorced is because they had all the power and they knew it. They didn't exploit. Like, for example, if I was mind controlling you right now, I wouldn't tell you I was mind controlling you, right? I'd let you think all your decisions were your own. So it's the same thing. Women were far smarter back then. So for example, you ever hear the phrase like, all right, yeah, my husband is in charge of the house, but we all know who makes the real call. So like it's like how you were saying. So the tradition of communication between our families, like our parents were all there, our mothers taught our grandparents how to be women. This whole problem didn't jump up until these new age modern women come up. And then look at the things that they're complaining about. They're complaining about having to cook, having to clean, having to stay at home. These are all things that we just talked about being feminine naturally. And you even just said the feminist movement. We both agree that makes women into men. Right. But being raised by these women, bro, they have instilled those thoughts in us. I mean, even like how you're saying, like, they thought they'd us think that it was a bad thing to be in the kitchen. It's a bad thing to sweep the floor. It's a bad thing to make sure kids are clean and taken care of and educated. It's a bad thing to follow your husband. He's stupid. You see what I'm saying? Think about it. No matter what they say, there's a rebuttal for it. I mean, for example, if they say men aren't shit, well, then how come you aren't picking men that are? If every dude that you talk to is a bum, I'm going to say you like bums. Because every dude isn't a bum.
Yeah, you got a track record of dating bums.
So my thing is, the feminist movement, this modern day women's mindset, logically teaches women to just abandon all sense of responsibility, all sense of duty, all sense of what it means to be feminine. And they push those mindsets on us as children. So this is where you get little boys doing shit like beating up girls. It's because as a man, we all know, think about it like this. It's not right. I'm not saying it's right. But we as a society, if we see a man getting beat up by a girl, we're not going to do anything about that. You see what I'm saying? But reverse that. If you or me grabbed a woman aggressively, there are men who will come to save her. You see what I'm saying? But that's because it's natural. Like how you said, we're meant to protect, we defend. So a woman getting hit naturally, they're gonna come and they're gonna come and try to fight us. You know what I mean? They're gonna try to stop that. That's natural. So with this new mindset, they want to teach you that we shouldn't do that, and that women should fight for themselves. I mean, is that not bad? They want to teach us that we're not supposed to save women; they can save themselves, and that doesn't result in anything good. And back to what I was saying about these little boys who get raised to be feminine men. So, for example, I bring that up because a woman hitting you, it's just not a big deal for real. We can take those little women shots. You know what I mean? A woman hitting us isn't the end of the world. But when you get women, Oh yeah, for sure. But I ain't talking about the exceptions. There's always exceptions to rules. You know, we from Cleveland. We know those chicks that can, like, whenever I hear, yo, okay, on a personal note though, whenever I hear anybody talking about, man, no girl has the right to, you should never hit a woman. I'm like, bro, I know some women that will box you into unconsciousness. Like, no.
You out. Shit.
You know what I mean? Some strong chicks.
Yeah.
But for the most part though, with the unicorns aside, for the yeah, 'cause, but for the most part, a woman hitting you ain't really, oh my bad, a woman hitting you ain't really damaging you. You know what I mean? That's why we're like, you should be able to handle that. As men, when we see a man getting beat up by a chick, it's like, you should handle that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with a man who's raised by a woman, these new age, this is where you get men who get to hitting on girls. It's because for them, they got punched in their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Men aren't meant to be sensitive and fragile, because when we're sensitive and fragile, things get destroyed. People get hurt. People die.
I feel it.
That's why we're not governed by our emotions. This is why we see things clearly, like how you said. But it would take a woman who sees things logically and clearly in order to give us a sense of direction, to have a positive endpoint on your natural guidance.
Right.
This is why there's naturally followers and leaders, because most women don't think logically, like how we just said. They think emotionally. You see what I'm saying?
Much.
So think about it. If you say something like, we're going to move left, and she goes, I really feel like we should move right. And you're like, okay, for the second time, my son is watching, my daughter's watching, move left. Because, I mean, think about that. What is that? I try to get people to try to think about things like, what does that demonstrate to a child? If I'm the father, which means, naturally, the child will identify the father as the head of the household. So, if I'm the father and I say something, if I say move left, and my wife does not move left, she questions me. Well, to the child, that says, mommy and daddy aren't united. Mommy and daddy don't see things the same way. Mommy doesn't follow daddy, which means daddy probably doesn't know what he's talking about if they're disagreeing. But then who's right? Is mommy right or is daddy right? I gotta figure this out for myself now. And if I gotta figure things out for myself, I'm probably gonna start thinking shit like I'm smarter than my parents. And this is where you get this rebellious stage. Like I said, a mother raising a child by herself is never a good thing, man. And a mother not united with her husband, disagreeing, you see what I'm saying, like not being agreeable, these are things that signal to a child that my guidance, these people who are my parents, my example for creation, how I'm supposed to carry myself as a man or a woman, they don't know what they're doing.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And that's something as simple as this woman not agreeing with me. You didn't move left when I said move left. Because if I said move left and you move left when I said it, to that child it says, okay, dad knows what he's talking about, mom confirms that he knows what he's talking about, and it's best for me to move left.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So this is why I ask, this is why I say things. I try to like get people to think about what we're really saying. You know what I mean? So logically, there's nothing wrong with a man wanting his dinner. There's nothing wrong with a man wanting a clean house, especially if all you do is exist in it. And the modern day feminist, all she wants to do is exist. Except get the respect of a man.
Exactly.
So how do we do that? Because if you want to be equal, I mean, how is that a thing?
So in that particular scenario, that just reiterate what I was saying. Just had a compassion. Just be like, how was your day? What's going on? You obviously don't see dinner on the table. What's going on? Everything all right? And listen to her. And if she tells you everything that went on, then as the man, you be like, okay, I got you, baby. I'm tired.
What if it's your fault, though?
I have something to eat.
What if it's your fault? Dinner's not on the table because of something that you made me feel like.
Then we gonna talk about it. that's when we sit there, we had a conversation. I asked her, "What's going on? What's wrong? Did I do something wrong? What happened? Did I say something out of pocket? Did I say not something out of pocket? Did I say something that you didn't agree with?
Mm-hmm.
Did I disrespect you any kind of way, or what? How do you? What's on your mind? We gonna talk about it.
All right. So, would you say that there is? Would you say? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're gonna talk about it. Dissolve the conflict. We'll go get something to eat.
All right. So, would you say there's a masculine way to communicate and a feminine way to communicate?
A masculine way and a feminine way of communicating. In a way, yeah. I think I think so. In a way, I think feminine way communicates. They kind of communicate through their emotions. They let you know that something's wrong with them by the way they act, not by what they say. They might say one thing. I'm talking about women. They might say one thing, but they feel the opposite. So you got to literally pay attention to them and be like, "Oh shit, I forgot our anniversary. Oh shit, I ain't. She just got her hair done. Oh damn, I ain't comment on it. She don't walk past me. I ask her, is everything okay? She don't say it fine. And you know what I'm saying? She really ain't fine. She really pissed off at me because I didn't compliment her on X, Y, and Z.
Even with that scenario, though, even diving into that scenario, I said even diving into that scenario.
Yeah.
Is it reasonable to not have food on the table because I didn't notice your hair? I mean, consider the fact that I've been working at a steel mill for 8 hours or 10 hours and I'm tired. All I want to do is eat. All I want to do is just sit with my wife. Is it reasonable for you to get mad at me and not make me my dinner because I didn't see your hair?
See.
Because I hurt your feelings? Because I still gotta work, I still gotta travel, I still gotta do all this stuff. But because I hurt your feelings, I gotta lose my wife?
So this thing, woman's mind. Yes, I wanna feel desire. I did my hair and makeup and hair and toenails and all that stuff for you. And the fact that you ain't recognized, you ain't complimented, you ain't even pay attention to me, let me know that I ain't, you know what I'm saying? Am I your wife? Are you still looking at me? You know what I'm saying?
Is it fair to say that that's her problem?
Is somebody, you looking at somebody else? Like, we gotta literally, even though we tired, we got, with that one eye open and the other eye closed, but we so cool, we tired. Damn, baby, you look good.
Right, so even more work.
How tired we is, and be like, oh, you got your nails done. You okay? You look beautiful, baby. You got your hair done.
So think about that. What you're saying is, so you gotta come home exhausted and do even more work.
That's okay. Look, if she do anything, any kind of changes for you, because she wants to feel more beautiful and more desirable for you, you gotta recognize it.
But
you gotta speak on it.
But is it reasonable?
You gotta let her know that you paying attention to her, that she's still desirable, that you got only eyes for her at all times. Because when you do that, you get more benefit. Now,
well, you know how
you said was good. Oh, it's slapping today. It's slapping the next time you told her look. You get that food is slapping and you get some slapping. Okay, she giving it to you. Whew.
Well, check it though. But my thing is though, think about what you're saying though, man. All of that stuff. So it takes a man to work all of those hours, come home tired, then have to work on checking her out every day, making sure that she's cool, even though you tired, you worked all day. And then she has the right to not make you dinner, to divorce you and take half of your earnings because you didn't notice her hair being done. By your logic, I'm just going by your logic.
It's the truth though.
But is it, so my question is that right? Is that right?
It ain't. Because shoot, you be so tired, you ain't really had time to notice everything.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm just tired.
So is it right That she should not make you
No.
dinner for for a natural human error.
Yeah, it's not right at all because we make mistakes.
Right.
We ain't gonna get everything the first time. We ain't gonna notice everything the first time all the time.
Right.
Shit, we be focused on planning and being, making sure we did everything right and making, what I'm saying? Shit. Okay, yeah, baby, your hair legs look fine, baby. I got all this shit on my mind. I love you, I desire you, beautiful, but shit, I'm just overwhelmed.
Yeah. So think about it like this. So now, logically and reasonably, is it reasonable that I come home, my food isn't made, and when I ask why, it's because your hair is done, which means you went and got it paid. You spent my money to get your hair done, and I have to now not eat dinner because your feelings are upset.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's not right.
Social media.
I say the feminist movement, man. Like if we really got,
too.
I mean that's, if you're asking me, man, that's straight up what it is. I mean, houses were together until the feminist movement. The feminist movement started. With some women who wanted to. It wasn't even about trying to get jobs and stuff, man. It was they didn't want to go to war, and they wanted to be able to vote. And the only way to vote was to be able to go to war. It was the beginning of getting the benefits without accepting the responsibilities, man. But that's where it all started, man. Because then with feminism, you started getting stuff like splitting up the house. And in America, if you as a woman are incentivized to kick the father out of the house. You get paid to kick the father out of the house. So the father's out of the house, then you can charge the father for child support. You see what I'm saying? These are all aspects brought up by feminism. Feminism divided up the modern day home by trying to empower. And think about it like this, man. This is what I mean by modern day contradictions. So by saying you are a feminist, by saying that you agree with the feminist movement, that's literally agreeing with all the ideals that they claim to disagree with. If you are a feminist, that is saying that you have no power, you are useless naturally, and the only way for you to have worth is for the men to give you power and for the men to accept you as men. I mean, think about it. Even by the word, female empowerment. To say that I have been empowered means that I was once without power and was given power by somebody in power. And from their perspectives, that's the men.
Damn, that's well put. I like how you put that, man.
So thank you, man.
To get power from a man, so wow.
I mean,
you
because
recognize your own power that you had in your own household.
that's what I'm saying. Because this is what I mean by who actually made the decisions. So I want
to bring.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
Up how so you say the feminist movement broke up the family, and I agree with you. But I also want to add to what else I believe broke up the family. I believe modern technology and social media broke up the family because before, everything was peaches and cream. You know what I'm saying? I took out, the man took care of the household, the woman took care of, they worked together as a team. But what you didn't know is the baby might be the milkman's, and the father had a whole other family door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything is exposed. You know what I'm saying? You got fools now taking pictures. Back then, they was taking pictures, but they kept them in their briefcase, and it never got seen until 30, 40 years later. It's like, wait, why we look alike? I'm trying to date you. Nowadays, you know what I'm saying? Everything getting exposed. Before, you know what I'm saying? None of that stuff is exposed because everybody kind of just mind their business. You might have people that would come up and talk about their husband, come up to a woman and be like, your woman, your husband, I seen him with Geraldine and Florentine, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
They be like, don't talk about my husband. Same thing. Your wife Bernadette, I saw her hugging up with Jimmy Dean or whatever, Jimmy, whatever. Don't talk about my wife. No, she wasn't.
Well, see, that's the thing, too. I'm glad you brought that up, man.
Even though they was hoes.
Well, see, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you said that, man, because everybody back then, I mean, think about it. They did know what was going on, man. It's just that they didn't put their own happiness above their families. Like this is why this is what I mean by this is what I mean by like the proof in the pudding. You know what I mean? Like our parents still stuck together. They weren't getting divorced like that. You know what I mean? Our grandparents stuck together. It's because it didn't really matter. Like so, for example, if women naturally, for the most part, they don't really care. Most women don't really care when their man steps outside. And this is to help you get a grasp on the mentality behind this. I'm very sure you've heard women say something like, "Well, he may have stepped out on me, but who did he come home to?" Yeah, right. Because you're thinking about it from a yeah, but you don't want to mix up a masculine way of thought because for us, a woman stepping out is the end. You know what I mean? Like there is no coming back from that for the most part, unless you're a simp. But women, you can cheat on them and bounce back. I mean, how many times have you heard that? Like, oh, he cheated on me one time, or they cheated on me. This is the second time he cheated on me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, women wouldn't be saying all men aren't shit if they weren't all getting cheated on and staying with those dudes. Mm-hmm. So most women are cool with getting cheated on, man. But men aren't.
It's true. It's getting to a whole nother thing now where you have sister wives. Now they like, well, shit. At least he gonna cheat. At least I'm.
Oh no, bro. That's always been going on. That sister wives shit. Women used to. This is what I'm saying though.
Bigger.
No, bro. This is what I'm saying. This is what I mean by women. The modern day hookup with feminism destroyed the family because women did have sister wives back then. You knew that your man probably had a family with this chick. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you didn't divorce your husband because you didn't put your own happiness above your family.
Because he still took care of home.
Well, it wasn't even about that. You have children. These children have to be molded into people. They have to, you know what I mean? They have to have a good upbringing or they'll be terrible people for society. So no matter what, coming from a single family household, you're literally put at every statistical disadvantage.
Yeah.
And 90% of those single households are created by women. Because it doesn't matter what happens, the women are the ones that are leaving. And that's only happening nowadays because the women of our time, of our grandparents' time, they understood words like responsibility and duty. And they took their vows seriously. So for example, it doesn't matter if I'm cheating on you. It doesn't matter if I don't pay attention to you or I don't compliment your hair or whatever. You took vows for better or for worse. So if I lose my house, if I lose my house right now, if I get my left arm cut off, you don't leave me because you're not as happy as you once were. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the worst part of things. And our grandparents and our grandmothers understood that. This is why they had to take out religion in society, because religion, people who are religious take their vows, their commitments seriously. So when our parents were getting married, it's because they were actually Christians. They were actually members of religions. And it doesn't really matter what religion you're into. I really don't care, man. But every single religion teaches monogamy.
I'm not part of
it. Huh?
I ain't part of a religion, so.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Because if you were, it really wouldn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like how you carry yourself, your path is your own. You know what I mean? And if you feel like religion helps you get there, cool. But my whole point in bringing up religion is no matter what, religion teaches us construct on how to live a happy life, and every religion teaches certain aspects of it. And I say this as a non-religious person. Every religion teaches these things for a reason. So every religion teaches that women are supposed to be chastity. They're supposed to uphold the value of chastity, meaning, you don't have sex with a bunch of people. Feminism teaches promiscuity, meaning, yeah, you're supposed to go have sex with as many dudes as you want. It's about your sexual liberation. But the reason that religions teach that we don't do that is because, sure, it's fun right now. It's fun having sex with all of these people when we're 20 years old, when we're 25. But like how you said, we get to that point where it's like, I don't even know this person's name. Now, for a woman, By the time they're 30 years old, they've had sex with 100 dudes. What man is going to want to take you as their wife?
Shoot, one, the man that don't know your number.
Do you see what I'm saying? But that's the thing, though. You wouldn't be able to walk in truth anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you ask any woman that says anything like body count doesn't matter, ask them what their body count is, and they never want to tell you, because it matters.
No. As a guy, I mean, we ain't gonna think about that as long as that thing's still tight, wet, still get ready, you know what I'm saying? Hey, most guys don't even give a damn.
When it comes to hitting,
as long as it's well kept, a lot of guys don't really care.
man, when it comes to hitting, but think about it. For example, would you have married your wife if she told you, she said, Devontae, I want to tell you, I just want to be truthful with you. I've had sex with 300 men. And I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, for most part, people don't really roam around when they have their partners. So these are people that you may encounter and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, so would you take a woman that has had sex with 300 men?
I mean, shit. Personally, if I had to literally be like, okay, I got to choose between somebody with 300 or 5 bodies or 1 body or no bodies, do you have any diseases? Because at the end of the day, that person who had 5 bodies or 1 bodies have had sex with somebody who had 300 bodies. So at the end of the day, does it really matter?
Absolutely.
As long as you ain't got that thing.
So think about it like this. People don't think about the long-term repercussions of things. Like, for example, there's a big difference between a wife and a girlfriend. So, you know, your girlfriend, it might be cool for your girlfriend to, you know, wear some shorts for you that are nice outside, you know what I mean, some little booty shorts or whatever. But you're not going to want your wife outside wearing them little hoochie shorts. You're not going to want your wife outside twerking and dancing, right? So there's a mentality shift when we get older. So my thing is, with these women who have all these bodies, most men are not attracted and don't want don't want a woman who other men have had. So for example, that's like saying, you know, if she's had 300 bodies, it's safe to say that she's a hoe, right?
So I got a different definition of a hoe.
Somebody who's had sex with 300 people ain't a hoe?
So, okay.
Bro!
So yes. One definition is a hoe, but my definition of a hoe is somebody who is in a committed relationship and they go outside of their committed relationship and have sex with other people.
That's just a cheater. I'm talking about what is a hoe. Like we're talking about whore. We'll use the biblical term. Like, what makes somebody a whore?
I mean, hey, she got friendly pussy. I mean, that's community pussy. You know what I'm saying? She everybody gets some. You know.
Right. So are you gonna cuff the community pussy?
Oh, because they out here, they fucking different person. Okay, they didn't work out with this person. All right, I'm fucking somebody else.
But are you gonna show up? Are you gonna show up to the business meeting with the community pussy? And that's your wife. You see what I'm saying? See, people don't think long term, bro.
It did.
You see what I'm saying?
I like my women with low body counts.
Every man does, bro.
I've been low body counts. So
every man does. Every man does. Because we think about these things long term. There's no way I'm about to walk into a room with my girlfriend and every dude in there is like, oh, I done smashed. I know your girl. Yeah, your girl did some crazy shit with her tongue, bro. Like, there's no way, you know what I mean, that other men are going to be able to say some shit like that about your wife. Or they shouldn't be able to. Like, can you imagine right now, if she's hit 300 dudes, I imagine she's sent at least 100 nudes. So 100 different dudes can show you your wife's body. You know what I mean? Like, that's for most men, that's not appealing. Especially when we get older and we want to bring men, we bring our wives around people who we respect. We don't get respect as men for having hoes as wives. We lose respect for that. You know what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying? So like these women who are promiscuous, who have all these bodies, man, They now, in order to have a happy wife, I mean happy marriage, they have to lie. They can't be honest. They can't tell the truth. And that's where they hurt inside, because like how you said, women are emotional and the truth matters. So when the truth comes up, most women want to have a husband or a boyfriend that they do something with, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, for example, most women want a man who is loyal, right? And faithful.
Thanks.
But now think about the type of man who most women will tell you that they desire, right? So just on some basic level stuff. If a woman is a woman who wants to be with a man who's tall, right? And tall usually means like 6 foot, right? Well, just a 6 foot dude, 6 foot flat, that is literally 15% of all men.
Yeah.
Alright? So now if you want him to be 6 foot, let's say, most women want their man to be attractive. So you want a 6 foot attractive dude. Well, now that's like 4%. And then you want him to have the traits of the dude that you want. You want him to be faithful, have a good job, all that stuff. Well, you're talking about a less than 1% man. And now realistically, even if you get that less than 1% man, even if you manage to get him in a relationship, do you expect him to be faithful?
Damn. And then you gotta throw in religion too. You gotta be the same religion too.
You see what I'm saying?
Part of the same religion. Oh, he.
Well, my thing is too, man. I don't even see people talk about religion like that, man. That's what I'm saying. And people who have religion in mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What you saying, bro?
It's still women out here. You still got church goers that still be like, oh, he gotta be a Christian, or he gotta be Baptist. Or,
Let me ask you though, bro. Are they 30 years old? Are they 30 or close? The women who say that, are they 30 or close?
Yes, yeah.
Most of them? Most of them, though?
Yeah, most of them older.
Okay, so that's the point. That's the whole point, though. That's the whole point, though. My bad. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, bro. My bad.
Yeah, no, you straight. No, most of these women younger, they more knowledgeable now. Our generation and down, we more noticeable about spirituality. We choose spirituality over religion. We kind of seeing, you know what I'm saying, the whole spectrum of things, and we're more open-minded. You know what I mean? We like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I will get into the whole thing, but we can say that for another show, I guess. But
well, actually, no, man. That topic plays into what you're discussing. Plays into what we're discussing right now. Because the thing about it, you say that spiritual people are going away from religion and becoming more spiritual. Well, think about the result. Marriages are at 90% failure rate right now, and that's due to this whole spiritual movement of we got to manifest and. Because remember, religion teaches a strict guidelines for marriage and stuff like that. Spirituality has no guidelines for a household. There is no belief. When people who are spiritual, they have this belief of, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being spiritual, man, not at all. I'm just saying that there is no structure in anything spiritual. Anybody that you meet who claims to be spiritual, it's up to them. It's their interpretation of what spiritual means. Therefore, it doesn't really mean anything if it's just up for everybody's interpretation.
Okay, so spiritual, you have your own. That means you have your own spiritual connection.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like your own thing. So it doesn't mean much.
Right. And I believe in my own personal experience, I believe that we were all once spiritual. You know what I'm saying? We all had our own relationship with God. I think religion came about. You had somebody who had a strong spiritual connection with God, and they was living a good lifestyle. You have somebody who had a weak spiritual connection with God, and they, instead of seeking God and forming a stronger relationship with God, they looked at man and was like, wait, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to form a better relationship with God, they was like, wait, how do you live your life? What do you do?
Oh no, man, that's not the whole point of religion.
Every morning and drink water, blah blah blah. Okay, here's my religion, Baptist. If you live like this and do exactly what I do or how I do it, you'll be blessed. And then you have somebody else with a strong spiritual connection with God comes along. He was like, wait, I ain't gotta live by those rules and do all that to get blessed. I'm not going to follow you. I'm going to call myself a Catholic. And that's where all these religions came from. You have a lot of followers who are weak, who are spiritually weak, who didn't have a strong spiritual connection with God, and they looked at man and they followed man instead of following God. So that's how you have all these followers of religion, because you have people who rather look to.
Well, think about it. That would be your own misinterpretation of it, though, because people who represent religions, they don't represent any form of their own beliefs. They're supposed to represent God. They're supposed to be a voice for God on earth. So if you start as a human, as a man, if you look at that man and start copying yourself off of him, well, then you've already strayed from the path of the religion, because the religion teaches you to not, every single religion teaches you to not follow the man. It teaches you to follow God. So when people follow their preachers and stuff like that, well, then you aren't really reading your text, because every single holy text tells you to beware of the shysters, to beware of the people who are false prophets and words of God. So anybody, but you have to remember, there's a way that every single text teaches a specific way to live a life. You know what I mean? And then with those texts, the only things they all teach a different story, but it's all pretty much the same premise. And
you notice every religion has a different set of rules. Like you can't live, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like you have.
Well, my whole point is, bro, that's not what I'm talking about, because yeah, the rules for a different club are always going to be the rules for a different club. I'm talking about the overall principles of these religions, and they're all pretty much the same. It's the same thing as no matter what, there's a reason why they tell you there's no excuse, ignorance is no excuse of the law, and it's because it truly is. No matter where you go in the world, there are only 3 human laws. You don't, and we all know them from the moment we're born. You don't kill anybody, you don't steal from anybody, and you don't deal falsely in business, because you know all those things. You know when you're doing wrong. You know killing somebody ain't right. You know hurting somebody ain't right. You know stealing from someone. You know when you're taking something that's not yours. You know that.
Right.
And you know when you're trying to get over on somebody in business. You know when you're dealing falsely. That's why that's why ignorance is literally no excuse of the law, because as humans there are only 3. But with religion, all these religions teach the same text. Like, for example, all religions teach pretty much the 10 Commandments, man. Chastity, obey, respect your neighbor, live a life, treat others how you... I mean, think about it. Every religion has a way to say it. Treat others how the way you want to be treated. You will reap what you sow, blah, 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 right? But the books are what you're supposed to be following, because in the books, it teaches the way God says live your life. If you live your life based off of any way, like how you said, the moment you say... this man, the moment you start looking at that man, that's when you're wrong. And that's what most of us do. We all make mistakes, we're all human. But most of us, especially when you hear people saying they have a problem with the church. Okay, having a problem with the church is not the same as having a problem with God. Do you see what I mean? But check it out. I'm talking about just using your own words, though, bro.
But see, the thing is this: when you go to church, what does the pastor do? They talk about other churches. They talk about other religions. It's been religious wars since the beginning of the time. They don't agree, but they talk about the same thing. It's like that Catholic preacher ain't gonna do this. That Baptist preacher.
Well, that's exactly what I'm telling you, bro. So if it's just men disagreeing.
So, what I'm saying is, you gonna have somebody, you'll have somebody that's Baptist, and they will literally be like, oh, they Catholic, oh, they not of God. They, you know what I'm saying? They do this and that. They not of God. They not Christian. You know what I'm saying? You have all these disagreements because of how each religion has their own different prophets. Catholic,
bro, without going into any of that stuff, because like I said, I'm just staying on a base level, man. Without going into the rules of all religion and all that stuff. All it is, because no matter what you believe, it's just what you believe. You know what I mean? It's nothing you can prove as far as religions go. So. Just the base logic of them, it's all the same. And this applies to our modern day situation. So even in your example, if you're saying everything is worse now, but we're all more spiritual, then that must mean logically that spiritually ain't really the way to go, because it means nothing as far as we're all concerned. For example, if I say I'm spiritual, right, and you say you're spiritual, right, but my idea of spiritual doesn't match your idea of spiritual, who's actually spiritual?
See, the thing is God. If you're so you watch TV, right?
No.
You have the good side, you got the bad. I mean, well, as a kid, you watch TV, right?
Yeah.
So you ever see like the television shows where like the good angel, the bad angel?
Mm-hmm.
That is that's your flesh. One is your flesh and one is of God. So your flesh will tell you, oh yeah, you should do this. It's all good. And the spirit of God is telling you, be careful. This ain't right. You know, it's telling you all the right things which you're supposed to be doing. And your flesh, which is the devil, is what's telling
No
you.
way, man.
Huh?
Well, okay, I don't want to trail too far off because, but just based off what you're saying, it's just like what you just said was like we are evil, off rip.
No.
Yeah, if the flesh is the devil, bro, we are our flesh. but check it here. But check it before without going into religion and all that stuff because like I said, that's cool. But check it. The reason why I brought up religion is because based off what you're saying, religion has this structure throughout and every religion has structures and they have rules throughout the whole world. Everybody in every religion has a ceremony where they wed. And they all have guidelines to create a successful union for you and your wife, for you and your husband. Right? Throughout history and throughout all time, these things have worked. Marriages have worked, religions have worked. Everybody's been happy throughout time. No matter what, you're going to have people disagree, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, especially in our nation, things have worked until now. And when you say things, and by saying things like my interpretation, what I think, my way of seeing it, well, every single person can do that. And when every single person does that, we now have this crux. We have to figure out what things mean. So for example, if I said I'm spiritual and I wave a blue flag, and I say this is the spiritual flag, and then somebody else goes, no, the spiritual flag is green. Well, then what flag is the spiritual flag? What does it mean to be spiritual? And then this is where it comes up with, because I hear all these people, and this is where it ties into modern day hookups, because every woman considering themselves spiritual or any of that stuff, well, it seems like these are people who didn't follow a traditional set, and now they're just looking for a set of rules.
We all have an excuse for everything. We think making excuses is better than simply taking responsibility. Like for example, if I was supposed to pick you up at 3 o'clock, I show up at 4 o'clock, right? And you say, yo, you're supposed to pick me up at 3 o'clock. What happened, man? Like, and I say, oh man, yeah, I know, but I had to go see this chick, man, and you know, so it's not really my fault. Like, it doesn't matter that you told me you were supposed, you know what I mean? You didn't do what you said you were going to do, so that's all I care about, right?
No communication, yep.
But with this modern day society, we all come up with excuses for everything, man. And the excuses start, I mean, like, not even start, but, you know, an excuse can begin with, well, I don't want to follow God's rules or anybody's rules because they don't fit my own. And with this marriage system, the reason why all religions teach there's a way that marriages work, it's because we've existed for millions of years and marriages have worked a certain way for millions of years. It's not until now, and only in the West, that we have these issues with our marriages. And a part of that comes with this idea that we can do whatever we want without consequence. So yeah, you can date a dude who seems aggressive as long as he's cute, and then, you know, once he does something you don't like, not notice your hair, you can not do your duties, you can neglect your children, divide your whole house up because your hair didn't get noticed for the 5th time. And then you can take that man for everything he has, half of all of his belongings, and ruin his own personal career, all because your hair didn't get noticed. And society will tell you, it's, you know what I mean, there was no fault in that. But whose fault is that? Like, for example, if a man, you can complain about any man saying that, you know, my man was always yelling at me, he wanted the house done, he wanted the house clean, he wanted food. Well, he's taking care of you and you're not doing your duty. If you complain about me, like, it's like how you said, you know, oh, you didn't notice my hair. I didn't notice your hair. All right, cool. You have food. You're fed. My children are here. You have a house. You have a family. So what's more important? You're going to divide up my family. You're going to divide up my family, cause mental disturbance for our children because your hair didn't get noticed? You see what I mean? Like, you have to really think about the cause and effect of everything. And saying something like, you know, a woman doesn't have to do her duties but still be treated as a woman, well, this creates a psychological conundrum, because what do we do? How do I treat you like a woman while not treating you like a woman? How do you as a man, how can I make you feel like a man by treating you like a woman?
And that's where I draw back to communication. Because without learning how to properly communication before things comes to a catastrophic failure, you have to properly learn how to better communicate with your significant other, spouse.
Well, check it out though. Communication starts at the beginning. So if you're in a relationship with somebody and you guys are having communication issues, well then, I mean, I honestly, that logically, you all were ignoring red flags. You all were doing things, trying to customize it for yourself instead of ignoring the rules. So, this is what I mean. Like anybody, especially these young people who claim to be spiritual and all this other stuff, there are no rules. And communication works with, and whenever you say communicating, every time, we have to have a meaning with what communication is. So I mean, like if I'm using words that don't mean the same thing to you, then we can't communicate, right?
So also you got to remember when you first start dating, is you got to have these uncomfortable conversations. Because if you have these uncomfortable conversations, you get the natural reaction of the person. If a person reacts a certain way, and it triggers, it's like, okay, wait a minute. I asked you a simple question like, what do you see yourself for 5 years, or how many kids do you want, or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or any type of uncomfortable conversation, that natural reaction, like, what you mean? Like, I ain't trying to get married or whatever, you know.
Yes, that's something you can figure out.
Conversations bring out not only the answer that you're looking for, but it also brings out the emotion.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying, how can we communicate though if the words that we're using aren't the same? This is what I mean by like, this is why people who follow religion and rules, they are more likely to have a successful marriage and a successful life. Because if we're not following any rules, then nothing means anything. For example, this is what I mean, this is what I'm trying to get you to, this is why I use the flag analogy. If we have no flag to rally behind, by me waving, this is what flags mean around the world. By me waving this flag, it means that everyone who banners around this flag agree with everything that this flag represents. This flag means something. The people of this flag rally behind this flag. We all agree with what this flag represents, right? If I'm waving a flag and you don't know what that means and nobody else knows what that means but me, well then it means nothing, because you know what I mean, it means nothing to anybody else. So if I'm the only person saying 2 + 2 is 5, who cares what anybody, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean shit. 2 + 2 is 5 to me, right? But it's not to anybody else. And the only way we can just figure out what things actually mean is when we figure out the definition and how do things work. You know what I mean? Like I can't mix purple and red and get blue. No matter how many times I try, right? So when we get into relationships with people who also feel like they got their own set of rules, well then we're going to be arguing all the time. This is why people who have religions and stuff like that, their marriages work, because they off rip agree on the way a marriage is supposed to work. If I'm a Christian and I'm actually a Christian, then that means we both follow the same doctrine that says, I leave the house as a man and you follow as the woman. The woman already knows that, she already agrees, so there's no problems there. Versus someone spiritual or American without religion or anything like that, I'm getting into this relationship with this person because I really like them. They're real cool right now. We have a child. Now all of a sudden, let's say 5 years, 10 years even, we have a child. Now the child is being brought up. And this is where realism comes to play. Because it doesn't matter. Everything, we're all selfish right now. Spirituality, all that shit is selfish, man. Because when realism comes into play is when you have to involve a child. Because a child knows nothing and they need to learn. They have to have a set of rules. So if I'm looking at this child saying, my rules are right, and then your mother is looking at this child and saying her rules are right, well, this child doesn't know shit, and it will be another child to grow up thinking that my own rules are right. And I'll be another person raising another child who doesn't know anything with a woman who doesn't agree with me. Do you see what I'm saying? It's because we don't have any sense of anything meaning anything. None of us have our own rules. We don't have any of that. And we're all selfish. Like, for example, I broke up my house because of my happiness. I needed to be happy. You hear women say this all the time. And the result is single family, single household, children with mental issues and emotional issues, little boys who don't know what they're doing in life, being lazy or whatever. You got these feminine girls, masculine raised girls. They don't have any concept of what anything means because they've never been taught. Nobody agrees. None of us agree. And you see that in society. We're all being divided no matter what. Color, class, creed. Doesn't matter what it is. You see what I'm saying? So if our household is already founded and mom and I don't agree, we're going to fall. People just like to act like it was never going to happen. You like to ignore it in the beginning. You like to tell yourself because 10 years have passed, because 5 years have passed, it's going to be cool. When in reality, it just takes 10 years for this bridge to drop. You can ignore that all you want to, but in 10 years, this bridge is going to drop. And usually where bridges drop is when the child gets involved. Because now, fuck your rules, whose rules actually matter? This child has to follow somebody. You see what I mean? And this is why in society we're having all of these issues, because none of us follow any form of rules. None of us have any build-up, and we're all selfish. Think about it. We all got to find somebody for us. You got to be fit for me. You got to make me happy. Nobody's thinking about what they can do for somebody else. Nobody's thinking about making their husband happy, making their wife happy. We got to find somebody for me. I left because I wasn't happy. That all sounds mad selfish if you ask me. If you know what I mean? Like if you ask, and by me I mean logic. That's selfish. There's no way around it. It's straight up. If you divided your house up because you wanted to be happy, you didn't care about the happiness of your children or the happiness of your husband or the happiness of anybody else in the house.
Yeah, and that's where I think counseling comes into the fact. A lot of people think that going to go see therapy or counseling, they view that as, oh, you must be crazy if you're going to go see counseling.
It's a societal thing, man. Yeah.
Counseling is some real deal help. It
helps. Absolutely.
And I believe that when you go see counseling helps with everything. Not everything, but it helps you get a foundation of where you should be going. Which you know what I'm saying, where your mind should be at, how you should be operating. A lot of people, and one thing about this generation that I do like is a lot of people nowadays are going to get counseling. Back in the day, they weren't going to get counseling. You see what I'm saying? Because it was viewed as, oh shit, now you know what I'm saying? It's something wrong with you. You're going to get counseling.
Yeah.
No, we all human beings. We all have mental things that needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
We are disabled, but no, we have some mental things that just need to be mentally corrected.
Yeah, I mean, we're all just trying to figure it out. Yeah.
So with that being said, when you said we all need religion, we all need rules.
No, I never said that.
Okay, so I must misconstrue what you said.
You know, this is what I'm saying. See, I'm not fighting for anything. Remember, I said I'm just logic. I'm just putting out the logic of the situation. Logically, and what we can see is that women and men around the world, their families are still together. Their families don't have arguments. Their children grow up to be successful. And like I said, just looking at it from a logical standpoint, it's because they have a set of values. If you go into a relationship without any values, it's doomed to fail. My values differ from my wife's, so our child's values are going to be scrambled.
True.
This is where you get people who have children who are like, you know, you see the mom and the dad are what we would identify as normal, but the child grows up to be emo and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like back in our day. That's because their parents were at a discord, man. They didn't have a structured household.
You still see emo people around?
No, man. I use that because, you know, we can identify that. You know what I mean? Like that was saying like my parents. You know, they even say it like my parents are never united. My parents disagree. You know what I mean? Like that's because their parents weren't. The modern day version of that is you get kids who don't know. For example, I mean they don't know anything, man. They don't know shit about anything, and they just want to have sex and run around, and it's very animal mindseted. I mean, think about it. If you're going off of what you feel all the time. The only difference between the animal mind and the human mind is choice. So a human we decide on things. We weigh things out. An animal goes, I want to have sex, so I'm going to go have sex. I'm hungry, so I'm going to go eat something. I'm tired, so I'm going to go to sleep. Do you know what I mean? So people who think like that, my happiness, my mode of thought, my this, my that, it's very animalistic because you're not thinking on a human level. You're just going off of what you feel, not what is. And that's what everyone seems to be doing in society. Everyone's talking about my happiness, my way of thought, my own feelings. And the moment you're doing that, you're not considering somebody else. It's all very hypocritical. And this is what I mean by words not meaning anything over here. Things getting switched. And when things don't mean anything, they're up to interpretation, which means they're up for a debate. And this is why people around the world, they all are living successful marriages and they have successful households where nobody gets divorced because they all agree. They have a set of some type of moral value. You know what I mean? They're all not saying, if you go over there, they'll say, if you go anywhere around the world, they'll say, I'm Christian, I'm Catholic, I'm Muslim, whatever. They're not saying, I'm spiritual. And here's my household. You know what I mean? Because like I'm saying, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying it does not work. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not advocating for religion or any of that stuff. I'm just saying logically what we can see and on paper. People claiming to be spiritual are all coming from single family households and they don't have husbands and wives. They have children with multiple men. And you know what I mean? They're all in these scrambled ass situations. Not to say, and I bring that up with the 30-year-old women because there's a psychological term called hitting the wall. So for men, this is what I said earlier. For men, we have to create our value. We're born worthless. We have to show people that we're fast, strong, smart, intelligent, worth value. We can help your company build up, whatever. We have to create our value and demonstrate that versus women who are born with their value, which means as we get older, our value increases. And as they get older, their value decreases. Because, we value them, like how you said, be pretty, be smart, not even smart, just be pretty, smell good, and have a good attitude. As you get older, those things diminish. You're getting older. You know what I mean? You're not listening because you're stuck in your ways. You're an old woman. You know what I mean? You're 30 years old. You're not thinking about nobody but you. Do you see what I'm saying? So their values drop while ours increases. And while that happens, most men don't realize their peaks until they get to that 30 years old range. And that's when women are coming to them and they have choices. So a lot of these men who thought, they settle, they get whatever they can get. And then they dealing with these women who settle for them, treating them all these types of bullshit ways. You got to make me feel as good as the 30 dudes that used to feed me all this attention. And then they get, the men start cheating on them because they realize, oh shit, I didn't hit 30. I didn't establish myself. Women are all talking to me now. I got options. I couldn't get that dime before, but now I can. And what do I got at the house? This woman yelling at me, cussing at me after I work hard. You know what I mean? Not making me dinner because her fucking hair, I didn't notice. No, I'm about to go chill with this dying bad this dying little bad chick who has a doctorate and don't want to do nothing but rub my feet and tell me I'm attractive. You see what I'm saying? That's why women start becoming religious at 30, so they can lock in a dude who values a set of rules. Because they realize that whole spiritual shit is a party. And once you hit 30 and 29, that party starts to stop for women. And this is why you get older dudes who live untraditional or unreligious lifestyles, because now they're getting exposed to options. Women always had options. Now they're finally getting options. And they're getting younger chicks.
Did he?
You see what I'm saying? But you see what I'm saying? That's just naturally how things work, man. And over here, everybody else in the world seems to get that. But only in our society we're having these issues. And it's because we don't have nothing means anything. Words mean nothing. You know what I mean? Values mean nothing. We don't follow tradition. We don't follow any rules. And you know what I mean? And traditional outcomes usually come from a religious structure. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying a Christian one, a Muslim one, whatever. Just a religious structure. Which means a moral set of values. You know what I mean?
Background.
Yeah. Oh man, we've been going for a minute. All right, we're gonna end up coming to a close pretty soon. Devontae, Thank you for coming on the show, man. It's been awesome talking to you. Thank you for thank you for giving me your perspective. I'd love to have you on the show again. And I'm gonna.
I'd love to be back on the show.
All right, so I want to get your closing thoughts, man. What are your closing remarks on everything we've discussed?
I think these are topics that needs to be brought up daily because everybody has their own input. But if we constantly have these conversations, we can get to a better place if we constantly have these uncomfortable conversations. Because some of these topics is sensitive to certain people.
Oh, absolutely.
Me and you, we like-minded, so we can have these conversations and we don't get too caught up in our feelings. We can actually just give a logical answer, where some people, they get too tied in their emotions.
Yeah.
So we constantly have these conversations, and like if we have people like me and you have these conversations, and other people like us that have these logical conversations without getting tied into our emotions, I feel like we can be an example to other people to get out of their emotions and think outside the box, thinking logically, and stop thinking so emotionally. You know what I'm saying? We can be examples. So I think we should continue having these type of conversations and host these different type of topics.
Absolutely, man. I agree. I fully agree, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, Devontae. Thank you very much, man. Have you on again.
Like what?
Peace, brother.
Peace.